And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening somewhere else and you'd like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. As we get ready to jump off here, being joined today by Daniel. Daniel, who is sleeping in the chair behind me. Some of you, for those of you who can see, making himself nice and cozy. No one else in the room right now that I'm aware of, anyways. And of course, naturally, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable. And I'll say hello to some of the people who have chimed in so far. I see DZ is here today, as well as Helter, Brian, Dragon, Cyberjack Sr., New York Patriot, choosing to chime in and say hello, as we are getting ready to jump off into the realm of the ridiculous and see what is going on in the world today. Oh, and by the way, still six, I believe, 6 monkeys on the loose in South Carolina. There are still 6 unaccounted for. No more monkeys jumping on the bed. Who remembers that one? Yeah, there are still 6 unaccounted for in the last count. So we'll see. And coincidentally enough, that the WHO and the CDC are warning everyone about monkeypox. Oh, it's the next big pandemic, monkeypox. Quake in your boots. Get your booster. Tuck has joined us. He says, like, share, and subscribe both channels. Please do if you don't mind. A thumbs up couldn't hurt. I don't know if it helps anything, but it couldn't hurt. It couldn't hurt. As we get ready to jump into the actual news, I don't have anything pulled up on the monkeys, but I just had read that earlier that that there are still 6 unaccounted for. They're out there jumping around in the swamps, but they haven't been caught yet. But don't worry, because they swear they haven't gotten around to experimenting on them yet. They swear. And H12 has joined us, and Patriot says he's on his 3rd Volvo engine this week. Excellent. Your own cars or somebody else's? As we get ready to bounce in here, if I can get this ad to quit. I hate the ads. This is going to be an independent article. The Independent, first one pulling up here. And Lord knows this will really help. This will really help with the whole Gaza situation. Arrest warrant is issued for Netanyahu over Israel's war in Gaza by the International Criminal Court. There it is. The International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, accusing him of crimes against humanity and war crimes in Gaza. The court has also issued arrest warrants for Israel's former defense minister Yoav Gallant and Hamas's leader Mohammed Deif. I don't know how to pronounce that. Israel said in August it had killed Deif in a Gaza airstrike earlier this year. Well, then they're probably going to have a hard time exercising that warrant if he's actually dead. The ICC said there were reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant bear criminal responsibility for the war crime of starvation as a method of warfare, and that they had intentionally and knowingly deprived Gaza's civilians of food, water, medicine, medical supplies, and fuel and electricity. It also found reasonable grounds to believe that each bear criminal responsibility as civilian superiors for the war crime of intentionally directing an attack against the civilian population. And it goes on to tell you when the conflict in Gaza started. We know this. We all know what happened on October 7th. Yeah, it's called war. It's called war. Every leader of every country involved in any war is guilty of any and all of those things. You think you're just going to issue a warrant and you're going to solve the problem? It goes on to say the ICC said it had found reasonable grounds to believe Hamas Deif was responsible for the crimes against humanity of murder, extermination, torture, rape, and other forms of sexual violence, as well as the war crimes of murder, cruel treatment, torture, taking hostages, outrages upon personal dignity, rape of other and other forms of sexual violence, and so on and so on. And it's like, yeah, that's why there's a war going on, actually. The move is a dramatic escalation of legal proceedings over the war in Gaza as it turns Mr. Netanyahu and the Goose into internationally wanted suspects, and is likely to further isolate them and complicate efforts to negotiate a ceasefire to end the 13-month conflict. It means the ICC's 124 member states, which includes the United Kingdom, and it's probably the only place that would actually enforce it, would be obligated to arrest Netanyahu and Gallant if they were to enter the territory. Okay, so all they have to do is just stay in Israel. Problem solved. New York Patriot says it's a city bus. Okay. JJ says they need to play the Monkees theme song whenever they bring up that story. Oh, I would probably get shut down if I did that on ScrewTube. Frankie M says, oh, the Justice League jumps into action. I know it. Fluke Man has joined us. Cyberjack Sr. says the dead are notoriously bad at returning calls. I know. He's going to ignore that warrant. It's a bench warrant. You know why? Because no one's going to look for them. And they know where they are, but no one's going to go in there and do anything. And again, all they have to do is just not go to one of those so-called member countries. Problem solved. They probably had no intention of going to any of those places anyway, so who gives a shit? And again, it's really naive of the International Criminal Court. I mean, that's real cute, and it's great at virtue signaling, but that's what war is. Do we not know what war is anymore? And how nasty and ugly it can be? I mean, I'm not condoning any of it, but that's what it looks like. Bad things are done. It's not a video game. There's no clean and politically correct way to do it. When you do it like that, you lose. Just ask anyone who served in Afghanistan. This is almost comical that they're going through this kind of effort. It's almost comical. I mean, again, what do they think war is? What do they think is supposed to happen? Going to write out some rules and everybody's just going to obey them? And if one side does something, the other one's going to retaliate. And again, you're talking about a society that goes by analogical thought, not rational logical thought. They're very tribal, and they're very shame and honor oriented. And you're trying to, again, pose Western ideas, ideals, and logic on that society. It doesn't work. That's why we lost in Vietnam. We were playing chess and they were playing checkers. For them, it was a war of attrition. And I forget his name, but the leader in North Vietnam at the time made it clear he didn't care if he lost 25 people to every American or more. And Puck says cats. Yeah, cats. There's one behind me. And he says, did you see Gates dropped out for AG? I saw something about that. I did see something about that. League of Smoke is here. Glad you could make it. Frankie says, apparently society doesn't know what anything is anymore. No, they don't. They don't know what a man is. They don't know what a woman is. They don't know what's funny. They don't know what's appropriate. They don't know what war is. They don't know what war is, obviously, or how it should go. That's not fair. Yeah, that's kind of the point. That's kind of the point. You're supposed to eliminate or wear out your enemy to the point where they just give up. You can't do that by, okay, well, we're going to do this on this day, and these are the rules, and blah, blah, blah. Fluke Man says Ho Chi Minh or General something. Ho Chi Minh was the name of a city, right? I forget. I'm bad with names sometimes. I just remember the events. I remember the events, and I remember what people said better than I remember names. Puck says ICC is not interested in arresting Islamic terrorists. Apparently, yeah, they put out a warrant for somebody who's dead. So that goes to show you how far behind the curve they are there. And Fluke Man says it's not immoral or illegal when non-whites does it, and this is coming from a non-white individual. I guess so. I guess so. Speaking of, since you brought that up, Fluke Man, since you brought that up, okay, I'll ranting and raving about what white people can and cannot do. Fox News article, you get a kick out of this. You get a kick out of this. Democratic lawmaker rants about the white man during a hearing on the Dismantle DEI Act. Oh, here it comes. Representative Jasmine Crockett from Texas became upset during a House hearing on Wednesday, which led her to rant about how white men were never oppressed in the United States. Really? Everybody at some point or another has been oppressed somewhere, sometime. Okay? That's really a narrow-minded statement. During a House Oversight Committee hearing about the Dismantle DEI Act, which seeks to weaken diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, Crockett responded to her Republican colleague championing the bill as a strong response to the oppression of our rights, liberties, and freedom. Crockett strongly objected to the representative, that is Clay Higgins from Louisiana, using the word oppression. You constantly said over and over the word oppression. And every time that you said it, it was almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard, because it seemed like you don't understand the definition of oppression. And I'd ask you to just refer to Google to help you out, because Lord knows that's so reliable. Oppression is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control that is the definition of oppression, she said. And so as I sit here as a black woman who practiced civil rights, you did? Let me tell you the reason that my colleagues want to make sure you understood the same black history that your side of the aisle wants to delete out of classrooms, because you can then misuse words like oppression. Oh, wow. She just went on and on. Listen to this. Listen to this woman. Wow, she's wearing a lot of foundation. Is she even that old? She's wearing so much foundation, it's discoloring her wig. Look at her hairline. Can anyone else see this? I know, I get so sidetracked by photos. I get so... All People says Jasmine Crockett needs to go back to the Caribbean where she was born. And Dragon says she lives in the land of rural free. She can go back anytime she wants, anywhere she wants. That really distracted me, all that makeup. If you look at the hairline of her wig, you can see that her foundation has discolored it. And Puck says Russians dropped some MIRVs on Dnipro, Ukraine. I saw that earlier. Yeah, they fired some long-range missiles. I guess that's the response to Biden telling the Ukraine that they can do it, letting the Ukraine know they're capable of doing the same damn thing. As I catch up a couple of more comments here, Rodney says she sounds like a clique, or a cliche. Are you trying to say cliche? a cliche. Hey, Rodney, are you watching the hockey march? HAKI, right? Hockey march in New Zealand. League says the only oppression Crockett knows is from the ugly wig on her head. Helter says, so no hatred for her own people who sold her out in the first place. Nope. JJ says, so much foundation you could build a skyscraper on that face. It's like frosting a cake. Eric says, I'm not a fan of makeup on most women, but I'm just a white man. I know, huh? Your opinion doesn't matter. Frankie says, I wonder if she watched a YouTube video on long nails. Oh, no, you remember that from yesterday. And Jack, what are the odds the next ones Russia sends has nukes? Not likely, Jack. I don't think that's very likely, unless they use it as a high atmospheric explosion to cause a big enough EMP to black out part over all of Ukraine. But actually irradiating surface area would defeat the purpose of anything they're trying to do. Fluke Man says she probably watched how to use toilet paper with long nails video. Yeah, because we talked about that yesterday. Puck says Crockett reminds me of the I'm Living Color skit, don't be a fool, stay in school. Wow. This is unfortunate, but yeah, that's her angle. That's her angle, and she's going to work it. That's probably how she got into office. Everything is racist. Everything is oppression. You've probably heard the arguments made before that black people cannot be racist. I've heard that argument. I can't repeat it verbatim. It's really ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. The argument, actually, the core of that argument is that you have to have power, money, and authority to be racist. And I'm like, but there are black people with power, money, and authority. What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. That really doesn't make sense. Helter says she doesn't realize lots of men in the country are oppressed regularly. This society is pro-feminist. Yeah, I'm sure she does realize it, but that's her anger. That's her angle. Rodney says it's pronounced Hikoi. I wasn't sure, Rodney. Most people, including Maoris, view it as cringe. Hopefully, David Seymour's bill passes. Yeah, I don't. I wasn't sure how to pronounce that, Rodney. All People says the U.S. never had a lot of race issues until LJB or LBJ, that Lyndon B. Johnson, passed the Hart-Celler Immigration Act that let in tons of post-65 migrants from the Caribbean and Africa. Puck says what you're describing is an EMP blast, which the U.S. recently said is not a nuclear escalation. Oh, see, there you go. It's not nuclear escalation if you do it as an EMP blast. This just really set me off, and that's her ranting and raving there about white men, DEI, and it goes on and on and on. Diversity works, and until you show me the data that says otherwise, I think we need to go back to being a country that listens to experts and gets out of our feelings and recognizes again that racism is real in this country. And until we stop pretending it's not, we'll not solve the problems we are constantly facing, or consistently, excuse me. And that'll bring real unity that we seek when we're looking for a more perfect union. And that's, again, according to Crockett. And it says diversity works. No, apparently it doesn't, which is why they're taking it apart. It's caused more problems than it's solved. Until you show me data that says otherwise. The data's out there, which is why they're taking it apart. I think we need to go back to being a country that listens to experts. This country has always listened to experts, and it has always gotten us in trouble. The experts told us to spray children with DDT at public swimming pools because DDT was perfectly safe to have on your skin or to breathe. How did that work out? The experts told us that asbestos was safe. The experts told us that smoking menthol cigarettes was good for your lungs. Shall I continue? Trust the experts. Man, I'm tired of hearing that shit. Get out of our feelings. Sweetheart, you're in your feelings now, which is why you're going off the hinges on this. Being all wrapped up in feelings instead of thinking logically is part of the problem. Recognizing, again, racism is real in this country. Nobody's denying that. Nobody's denying that. Okay? But what we're denying is that it only goes in one direction. Brian says there's not white oppression to them because they only acknowledge the one or two times in history when it came from white people. Fluke Man says Africa has genocide all the time. That's true. They're very tribal and they do not like each other. It's common knowledge, but it gets ignored unless the West gets involved. JJ says, honestly, why do we suffer fools such as this? Because there's nothing you can do about it. Dragon, quoting Morgan Freeman, racism will only stop if we stop talking about it. He did say that. Tuck says there are non-nuclear EMPs. Also, the MIRVs could be incendiaries next time. Yeah, indeed. New York Patriot, the experts told us that TPP would enrich Americans and it's only made us poor. There's always experts, and I'll throw that up there from all people. He has something else to say. Reading this from her is almost painful. It sounds really intelligent and really impassioned, but it's destructive. It's dishonest and it's destructive. And it adds to the problem. It's not helping anybody, and it's not helping anything. It's prolonging the problems. It's prolonging the problems. And we were getting along. America as a nation was moving away from these types of mindsets. And from the Obama administration on, it's been accelerating again. Enough already. And people like this make it harder. They exacerbate the problem. They drag it out. They profit off of it, which is why it's done. People like Al Sharpton, people like her, people like Jesse Jackson before he retired, and so on and so on. They're profiteers. That this is their living, creating this kind of conflict or championing, defending people against it, whether it's there or not. Feigning victimhood or putting so-called victims on a pedestal. That's how you end up with statues of George Floyd. He was awful. He was an awful person. Awful and violent and destructive. He's nobody's hero. There shouldn't be murals and statues to this person. Incredible. And again, all of this is being pulled apart. The data is there because people are sick of it. It's caused more problems than it's solved. And a lot of organizations, government and corporations, are walking it back, at least for now. Even if it's just for show, they're walking it back because it's not working. The whole DEI, shut that mess down. Quit dumping money into it. Another Fox News article, and you may have seen this. MSNBCs Future is a big concern for staffers as Comcast moves to separate the liberal network from NBC Universal. And here it comes. And this ties in with what we were just talking about. Comcast officially announced on Wednesday it would spin off several NBC Universal cable networks, including MSNBC, in a move that will dramatically shake up the landscape of legacy media, as the liberal cable outlet will no longer be affiliated with NBC News. Cesar Conde will, if I pronounce that right, will continue leading the NBC Universal News Group, but now the group only includes NBC News, the NBC News Now streaming service, Telemundo, and owned and operated local stations. Conde loses oversight of MSNBC and CNBC in the process, and the fate of shared resources and even the cable network's name and editorial direction are in question. A current MSNBC staffer is intrigued by the amount of thought that seems to have gone into the decision from a business standpoint, but said there was a big concern about what this means going forward with MSNBC. Yeah, these people, yeah, you can just write them off, please. Enough. Seriously. It says a current okay, what is MSNBC going to be editorially? I would say some people are probably relieved that probably Comcast and NBC will have less to do with it, because if you look at the kerfuffles over the last year with Mika and Joe and with Ronna McDaniel, it was all out of sync with the viewers, and our hosts and reporters are out of sync with the bosses, a current MSNBC staffer tells Fox. There was no conversation about what the editorial direction is going to look like on this front, they continued, but I don't know that anything will be different than it was 2 days ago. Yeah, the Progressive Network has had its share of public relations headaches this year, most notably the short-lived hiring of former Republican Chair Ronna McDaniel as a contributor to NBC in March, and last week's meeting between President Trump and Morning Joe host Joe Scarborough and Mike Brzezinski. No, they just don't like the way it's being run, and they want to shut it down. And Justin Case has joined us. Glad you could make it today. JJ says, though I sometimes forget you are correct, it's people like her that keep racism alive because they need it. And Patriot says something similar. Racism is not dead. It's kept in life support by politicians, race hustlers, and people who get a sense of moral superiority by calling others racist. Absolutely. So I catch up a couple more. Brian says Floyd's a saint who committed armed robbery on a pregnant woman, starred in a porno and passed around fake bills, resisted arrest and died from his overdose. Yeah. It's Saint Saint George Lionheart Floyd. Saint George Lionheart Floyd. Dragon says they expected the people would blindly follow this nonsense and that was spewed on a daily basis and used fear and insults, and this is the result. Yeah. Puck says I emailed Comcast $100 offer for MSNBC. You might get it. Who knows? It might turn out to be a good idea. Kind of like when Vince McMahon bought, what was it? WCW. When Ted Turner gave up on WCW because of the bad writing and sold it, and I think it ended up selling for $5 million. $5 million, but it's been worth far more than that after the fact in restreams and all that other stuff. Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, a legacy news agency going under, who gives a damn? I'm tired of all of them. I mean, I read these stories, but it's impossible to find honest news anymore. It's all opinion, or it's all scripted, which still has opinion in it. The days of Walter Cronkite are gone. I mean, I'm doing opinion, reading these stories, but I'm not the news. The news should just report what they know, not tell you what to think and how to feel about what they are expressing. That's manipulation. When it's a news agency presenting it as news. Doing something like what I'm doing, where I'm reading the news, but I'm also giving some commentary, and that's an opinion piece. And there's nothing wrong with opinion pieces, but they can't all be opinion pieces. It can't all be scripted, because then there's never any honesty in it. Yeah, but these people can go to hell. It says MSNBC staffers aren't certain whether the network will even keep its name after Comcast completes its separation from NBC Universal. And yeah, there's all your big stars. All your big stars. Unbelievable. I wouldn't be sorry to see any of them go. Many of them are insufferable to listen to. They're so alienated and so angry and so heavily opinionated. They're never wrong. They're never wrong. You can't tell them anything. H12 says it's a gossip agency. A gossip agency. Yeah, it's gossip. And you wonder how it stays on. You wonder how it all stays on the air. Like The View. I mean, it's all negative attention. It's a negative attention model of presentation, like The View. Everybody loves to hate The View, and that's what keeps it on. That's what kept Howard Stern on the air for years. Instead of trying to be positive or trying to be honest and straightforward, you come off bad, like Whoopi Goldberg. She's monstrous. But is that really her? Or is that an act designed for a negative attention model so that everyone's constantly talking about her? Because that's profitable. That's profitable. Flukeman says, do you cover cameras on your phone, laptop, and monitors? Yeah, it's enough to just unplug them when I'm done. But yeah, you never know. I mean, because they can be accessed remotely. They can be accessed remotely. Got some Hey, Daniel. Daniel's waking up. Well, he's repositioning himself back there. Got some corruption coming up for you. Corruption discussion time. Daily Caller. Corrupt tyrants. Irate citizens skewer Bucks County commissioners for flagrantly violating election laws. Are you shocked? Get ready for this. Scores of irate Pennsylvanians showed up to a Wednesday meeting of the Bucks County government to slam the Democrat commissioners who endorsed illegally counting deficient ballots last week. This is how Kamala is still getting votes for the popular vote, by the way. Wednesday's meeting of the Bucks County Commissioners was the first since Democrat Bucks County Commissioner Diane Ellis Marsaglia said last Thursday that she did not care about existing legal precedent when she moved to count deficient ballots, contravening the state's Supreme Court ruling on the issue. Citizen after citizen approached the podium on Wednesday to exonerate Ellis Marsaglia and fellow Democrat Bucks County Commissioner Bob Harvey for supporting the effort to count deficient ballots, calling on them to resign for openly flouting state law amid defeated Democrat Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey's effort to overturn the results of his race during a recount. A screen shows the transcript of remarks made by an angered citizen during the Bucks County Commissioners' meeting on Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. But essentially, these people are wasting their time. Yeah, the law says that you can go to these town meetings and you can speak your piece and you can go up to the podium for your 2 minutes or your 3 minutes or whatever is allowed in your state and say whatever you're going to say and then get the hell out of here before the deputies come and drag you away and maybe send you to jail. The commissions, they sit up there in these town meetings and in school meetings as well, if you go to the parent-teacher conferences, and they ignore you because they don't give a shit what you think, obviously, or else they wouldn't be doing anything like this in the first place. The law says they have to let you talk. It doesn't mean they have to pay attention. All People says they arrived to the U.S. already angry, complaining, entitled, and demanding they should just leave if they don't like it. No, they want to make the U.S. like where they came from, even though it's a shithole. Frankie says, "Is my cat Mango is on my bed." It is Johnny Future. Puck says, apparently they don't know what tar and feathers means in Buck County. They used to do that. In to tax collectors back in the day. JJ says, election interference, anyone? Exactly. And All People wants to know if I covered Matt Gaetz withdrawing from consideration of Attorney General yet. No, I did not talk about that. So citizen after citizen wasted their time going up there to express anger, and who cares? Seriously. Who cares? What's going to be done about it? Scott Presler, a conservative activist who helped deliver Pennsylvania for Trump and other Republicans through his efforts to register and mobilize voters, also attended the meeting. During his comments, he said he would make an effort to defeat Ellis Marsalgila at the polls when she next faced voters. While footage of the event does not show it, Ellis Marsalgila appears to have fought back at Presler that he can have at it because they don't think they're going to lose. And basically, this is mostly full, the rest of this article, of quotes from angry people yelling at the town council for all the damn good it does. Again, you're wasting your time because they do not care what you think. If they cared what you thought, or they felt threatened by your vote, they would not do the things that they do. Johnny says, somewhere in a deep, dark chamber, I wouldn't be surprised if they're still counting hanging Chads from Bush Gore 2000. And Puck says, it just occurred to me, David could raise a lot of money for the cats if he challenged Jake Paul to a fight. Yeah, I'll fight him for the cats. I'm not a professional boxer, so I don't think I would be too efficient. But sure, I'll take a fat check like Mike Tyson did. Why not? Corrupt tyrants in Buck County, Pennsylvania. Who's surprised? Who's surprised? I've seen too many of those town meetings and too many school board meetings. They don't care what you think. And they're not afraid. Go ahead, vote. Vote me away. See if you don't end up with someone worse. Just in case says I hit the nail on the head. And Puck says the people conducting the election interference tell us there's no election interference. That's how it works. That's how it works. And just in case goes on to say even school board meetings, nobody listens. Exactly. Because they made their decision. And if you have anything contrary to that, they'll take that right away. We read the article, a year ago? Talked about it extensively because it really bothered me. I forget which state it was. They had the gay rights sex ed class or something that they were introducing in the public schools in that state. And you can opt your child out of certain classes, and something like 96% of the parents in the school district opted their children out of those classes because they didn't want them doing that stuff. Most people really don't like this stuff. Most people really don't like this kind of stuff. Don't like all that DEI stuff and all that rainbow flag garbage. And the school board voted to take away the parents' rights to exclude a child from specific classes. There you go. And what are you going to do about it? Just in case, says bullying is a major issue in schools. Parents go to these board meetings and nothing is ever done about it. Patriot says Jake Paul is an exhibitionist. He's not a boxer either. It's okay. I'll put it on an exhibition, tippity tap. I might slip a low blow in on him, though. Johnny says it's all for show anyway, just so they can say we had a meeting. Puck says until Trump came along, it was Jack Johnson or John Jackson. Jack Johnson or John Jackson. More corruption. We're going to jump to Chicago. And this is a Center Square article. This is something I talked about a long time ago, way back in the day when I was still living in Illinois. It says, legislator demands answers for Chicago's red light camera ticket disparities. Yeah, a lot of people in Illinois have problems with that. Illinois State Representative LaShawn Ford, again calling for change after new data shows more than 2.5 times as many red light camera tickets are issued on Chicago's south side over a year-long period than at intersections where cameras are installed on the city's north side. Data analyzed by the Illinois Policy Institute of the 614,498 tickets that have been issued across the city, and that's recently, for $61.4 million in fines through to September. So January to September of this year, show red light cameras on the south side issued an average of 9,132 tickets, or 5,521 more than each north side camera. Quote, it's clearly a money grab and it's not fair. Ford, Democrat Chicago, told the Center Square. The question is, are the people on the south side of Chicago driving to that degree that they deserve to be disproportionately impacted by a system, or is the system flawed? I would urge the city to do some type of investigation. With Chicago being home to more red light cameras than any other large city in the country, and a recent ProPublica study finding residents in the city's inner city neighborhoods are being hardest hit, Ford wonders how much longer many of those that are among the most vulnerable can survive the onslaught. The tickets are one problem, but the impact that these tickets have on families is devastating. If I get multiple tickets and I'm placed on a boot list, then my car gets towed and I lose my car, then I have these tickets and I have to file bankruptcy to eliminate debt. Governments should not be in the business of driving people into poverty. We know that this regressive tax hits people in poverty more and drives people deeper into poverty. Well, it's, for me, it's not even an issue of whether or not it drives people into poverty or targets poverty people more. Okay, that to me, that's not the issue. The issue is that Illinois, Chicago in particular, but Illinois has these traffic cameras all over the place, and they're shady as hell. Even back when we were still living in Illinois, and we would get ticket warnings, and they'd be old warnings. You get a letter in the mail that like 9 months ago you made an incorrect turn somewhere or went through a red light incorrectly, and so you have all these fees and fines added on top of your ticket that they could have told you about right away if it was true. And 9 times out of 10, when we'd call and challenge it, they'd let it go. One time, my wife had 3 tickets from 3 different intersections over the course that supposedly took place within 1 month. And all 3 of the photo evidence, they take this really shitty black and white photo they put on the paperwork when they mail it to you. All three of them were the same picture. So at 3 different intersections at 3 different times during the month, it took the exact same photo, and she challenged that, and they removed 2 of the tickets. And I fought with them about tolls before, because you'll pay your toll, and then they'll send you a ticket for a toll violation anyways. And you call and you argue about that, and they'll knuckle under. But most people aren't going to call and fight about it. So yeah, it's a scam. It's a huge scam. Raccoon says bullies will never go away. I've been on both ends when I was little and as a teenager. Yeah, so have I. And Puck says that was a Futurama reference, the earlier quote. Patriot says, hopefully I can homeschool my kids. Yeah, I hope you can. But if not, their early pre-K will consist of jiu-jitsu and boxing. I'm not going to allow my kids to get bullied. Absolutely. Fluke Man says, if school boards don't stop punishing parents, or pushing, parents will do anything to protect their kids. A parent probably go to one of the meetings with a poo-poo and then blame the gun, but not the people involved. And Johnny says a lot of city revenue comes from those cameras at traffic lights. They won't give up that revenue very easily. They count on you not challenging the ticket from a camera. And again, you can see right here that it literally says just in the city of Chicago, from January to September, those traffic cameras issued over 600,000 tickets. 600,000 tickets for a grand total of 61.4 million in fines. They're not going to let that go easy. They're not going to let that go easy. That's ridiculous. And it's dirty. It's dirty. It's not run honestly. It's not run honestly. And they're taking advantage most of the time. I mean, there are people who they're just careless. They don't care. They're on the highway and they're driving 90 miles an hour. They don't care. Okay. But most of the time, people just made a mistake. They made a mistake. I didn't stay at the stop sign for 3 seconds because I wasn't counting. I was sliding under a yellow light and it changed on me. Didn't intend to fly through a red light. You're penalizing people for mistakes most of the time. And that's just dirty. And people won't trust you because of that. Fluke Man says they used one image for 3 intersections. That's fraud. If you did, they would have kicked your door down, 4 cops on top of you. Yes. If I did that to somebody, I would have been in trouble. And, you know, there's the old argument, oh, you could sue. Sue who for what? And who's going to pay for it? Puck says in Britain, people are using drones to drop bags over cameras like that. They should. I know there's a lot of cameras in London. There's a lot of cameras in London. It's one of those cities that that's saturated with audio and visual surveillance. But Chicago is too. Chicago's gotten really bad over the years with that. Now, you have your choice. Okay? You have your choice of what to panic about in the coming months. It's either going to be monkeypox or it's going to be UFOs. Because, yeah, we're pushing that again. We're pushing that again. Space Magazine article. The Pentagon UFO chief, there's a UFO chief, tells the Senate very anomalous objects need careful study. It says, and the article goes on to say, it's never aliens, at least it hasn't been yet. The United States Senate Armed Services Subcommittee on Emerging Threats and Capabilities, that's a mouthful, heard testimony on Tuesday from John T. Kozlowski, director of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. That's another mouthful. The U.S. Department of Defense created the office in 2022 in order to have a single place for military and government personnel to report UFOs, or UAPs, as they are now known. They changed it. I can't say UFO anymore. So what the hell does UAP stand for? It says the new term, short for unidentified anomalous phenomena. Oh, excellent. No more UFOs. Or if you're a Jerry Anderson fan, it's UFO. Unidentified anomalous phenomenon now, ladies and gentlemen. We learned something new today. Encompasses not only unidentified objects or events in the sky, but also those in water, in space, or those that appear to travel between domains. Okay, so if a portal opens up and, shock troops from Stargate drop out of it, you can report it to the UAP office. Gotcha. During today's hearing, Kolosky came in strong, stating that it is important to underscore that to date, AARO has not discovered any verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial beings, active or activity, or technology. Still, despite having resolved hundreds of cases with prosaic explanations, Kolosky noted that his office does not believe that every UAP is a bird, balloon, or drone. We do have some very anomalous objects, he said. Well, he's got to keep the checks rolling in. He can't just sit there and say it's all bullshit or it's all government experiments. He's got to keep you guessing or else he's going to lose his job. Kolosky also reported on the office's latest analysis of UFO/UAP cases, stressing that his office will continue to follow the science, because Lord knows that's always reliable, and data wherever they lead, and keep both Congress and the public as informed as possible at the unclassified level. So if anything is important, you won't hear about it. That stands in stark contrast to testimony presented to a U.S. House of Representatives subcommittee last week, in which a retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral and former U.S. counterintelligence officer told lawmakers that the American government is part of a decades-long cover-up to conceal the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. If any of that could have been proved, they never would have made it to the subcommittee. Johnny wants to know if they found all the monkeys yet. There are still 6 unaccounted for. There are still 6 unaccounted for. Frankie says in Chicago running the cameras. Is Chicago running the cameras, or are they paying someone else to manage it? It's all an automatic system. Is that the reason they cancel them in most of so-called, since most of the revenue from the citations went to pay for the services? It's an automatic system. Let me see. Johnny says, I'll always say UFO, and I still believe Pluto is a planet. They're considering making it a planet again, by the way. League says they can take UAP and shove it. I'm still calling ET's car a UFO. Flukeman says he should stop watching X-Files and leave those UFO Facebook groups. Yeah. UAPs. Unidentified, anomalous, what was it? Anomalous phenomena? Unidentified anomalous phenomena. Because not everything is necessarily flying, I guess. And again, I honestly think that, oh yeah, that's a really helpful photograph right there. See where the circle is? That could be anything. That could be a blob of gas. Puck says that the 6 monkeys are scooping the boxes at my house. No, I wish they were. Because I clean them multiple times a day. Because I don't want anybody to get a urinary tract infection. So I'm on top of that. I'm on top of that, Puck. All the time. I go through a lot of litter. I go through a lot of scoopable litter, which still has dust. I don't care how dust-free they tell you it is. That could be a picture of any damn thing. There's no way to tell. And we're in an era now where technology has improved to the point where you can get a better picture than that. Because you noticed that when everybody had a cell phone, suddenly there were no UFOs anymore. Now all of a sudden, it's back in the news. And it's all government reporting. I'm not seeing any citizen reporting of UFOs unless it's something that was faked for TikTok. Tuck says they're seen in space and in or under bodies of water, so technically not flying. Yeah, I get it, but still, it's a classic form of terminology. And League has a suggestion for that acronym. He says unelected asshole politicians. Yeah, unelected. Some of them are installed. Some of them are installed. But yeah, I don't trust any of that. I do not trust any of that. But yeah, just I mean, he's not going to sit there and say it's all fake or it's all government experiments, because I'm sure a lot of it is government experiments and making people think that it's a UFO or whatever is a good way to cover it up. I'm with Carl Sagan on that. When he speculated about that way back in like the 70s and early 80s and talked about how basically where Earth is situated in the Milky Way galaxy, it's the equivalent of the boondocks. We're out in swampland compared to the cluster of stars at the center, because we're way out on the edge. That any activity, if there is life out there, would be more towards the center. There'd be no reason to come out this far. So nobody would stumble over us. We're a little ball of mud in the middle of nowhere. And furthermore, would you want them to? It's a mistake. It's a mistake to invite them to come here, because what do you do when you see an anthill? Anyone who has the technology to traverse vast areas of space like that, we would be incredibly insignificant to them. They wouldn't have any respect for us. I don't know why everybody, I don't know why anybody would want aliens to come here. I mean, I know why, because they think they're going to fix everything. Oh yeah, we're so great, and you're going to give us technology, and you're going to solve all the world's problems. They'll solve the world's problems by getting rid of the people. All people reminds us once cell phones were available, Bigfoot went into hiding too. That's right. You don't hear about Bigfoot or Sasquatch or the Yeti anymore. No more Loch Ness Monster. No more Elvis sightings. It all went away when everybody had a camera. It all went away. Yeah, that's true. Frankie says Area 1 is active again. Area 51, excuse me. And Raccoon says, I saw To Serve Man, Twilight Zone episode. I've been scared of aliens ever since. Yeah, exactly. Because you know what they if they came here, if for whatever reason they didn't like us or wanted to take anything from us, there's nothing we could do about it. ID4 is Hollywood bullshit. Okay? Fun movie, the first one. The second one is garbage. The second one's absolute trash, which is probably why Will Smith refused to be in it. But the first one was fun to watch, but that wouldn't work that way. Anybody who could travel that length of distance with that type of technology, that'd just wipe us all out from orbit. Flukeman says 90s TV channel broadcasted a show group of people blowing up a metallic balloon with flashing lights, fans, remote control to go wherever they wanted it to. This was at night. People were shocked. And also crop circles have gone away too. You notice that? That doesn't happen anymore. Not really. And it was revealed the people who were doing it it was like a secret club of people in different universities in the United States and in the UK. And they would mathematically draw out a diagram, and they could go out at night, 2 or 3 people could do those crop circles in a couple of hours with a technique. And it has been demonstrated. You can find videos of it now showing how that was done. And people to this day still believe that crop circles were aliens. All people liked Galaxy Quest. They can't do a part 2 because that one guy passed away. Everybody always wanted a Galaxy Quest 2, but I can't remember the name of the actor. The guy who played Hans Gruber in Die Hard. Anyways, with that, we are at the top of the hour. Daniel is still with me. You can see that gray blob in the chair behind me taking a nice little nap. I wish I was taking a nap. I think I need one. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. I put up another video on Coffee Talk today, by the way, talking about YouTube shorts and why they don't freaking work. Tuck says Alan Rickman. Thank you. I couldn't think of his name. I'm bad with names sometimes. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So thank you, everyone who was able to join us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation.